welcome to the Lemonade Car Show. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. We're brought to you by OMVIC and Crown. I'm joined today by Terry O'Keefe, the Director of Communications for OMVIC, and John Raymond. He's an industry consultant with the Automobile Protection Association. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here again.
Terry, you're one of our, I love that you're a source for the show. I think it's great, not just of, sponsorship, but also information, and that you come here as often as you do, because I think it's really important. A lot of people don't know that OMVIC is running underneath the scene in most every transaction, at least the good ones in this province, because you are the industry body that has the teeth to enforce the laws. Tell me, where does your money come from? Do I pay you to be OMVIC?
You might if you're a car buyer. A lot of people think that we get government funding, and we get absolutely no government funding. And in fact, we actually pay the provincial government an oversight fee. We pay them because they have staff that, to watch to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing when we administer and enforce the Motor Vehicle Dealers Act and Consumer Protection Act. So OMVIC's two biggest sources of funding, if you will, is registration fees, licensing fees from dealers and salespeople.
That's that $10 line on the contract that you signed?
No, this is actually their licensing fee.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, every dealer and every salesperson in this province, a lot of people don't know that this is a heavily regulated industry. Mm-hmm. So they all are licensed by OMVIC, and they have to pay for their initial license, and then there's renewals. But the single biggest source of financing, and you're absolutely right, is for every vehicle that a dealer sells, they have to remit $10 to OMVIC. And many of the dealers pass that $10 fee on to customers, and it's perfectly legal. They're quite allowed to do that. So you'll see right on the bill of sale a line item that'll say OMVIC fee $10. If it ever said OMVIC fee and it was more than $10, that's a big problem. Please let us know.
$100,
Yeah,
like it's
please
been
let us
written
know.
in. Yeah. And the Automobile Protection Association, again, another level of protection for consumers. You guys work hand in hand. You frequently.
We have shared interests, and as we move forward, our organization and other organizations similar to us work with Terry and OMVIC on looking forward how we could protect consumers, how we could educate consumers together, and how we could offer added benefits that will help consumers buying a car today and in the future.
And the APA is member supported. So
That's
again,
correct.
Neither organization is this big tax suck from the government. You guys are supported by people buying cars, people who are, part of the organizations. I think that's really important, because sometimes we get kind of frothed up in wondering how much bureaucracy there is. What I like is I can call the APA and talk to somebody on the phone. Half the time it's you. I can call OMVIC. Right. You have lines. People can call for advice and just direction if they're not sure what's happened. And it's a real person that they can.
If consumers out there are upset at paying their $10, that $10 is very good value, because if there is an issue, okay, and you do call OMVIC, you're protected, okay, and that's there's a lot of peace of mind in that fee.
We're in the middle of auto show season, and the International Auto Show, Toronto International Auto Show is coming up shortly. OMVIC will have a booth there.
Yes, we're down on the 800 level, booth P223, and we invite consumers to come by. We invite dealers and salespeople to come by too. But yeah, if a consumer has a question about their rights, mm-hmm. What are my rights with regards to all-in price advertising? When does it apply? Am I protected if I buy privately? Any questions like that at all, come by, talk to our staff. They'd be happy to help. But to John's point too, we have at our head office here in Toronto, our complaints and inquiries team. There's 10 people there. Their job is to answer questions and to assist consumers, and they are very, very good at it. A lot of the time it's answering questions ahead of time to prevent problems, but sometimes it's also to give consumers advice on how to solve a problem. And when that doesn't work, they even offer a conciliation service where they will act between the consumer and the dealer to try and find resolutions. Last year we had just over 1,200 formal complaints. They negotiated the return of $1 million to consumers, and it's a free service. And if English isn't your first language or French, we also have a translation service in over 150 languages, and it's there to help.
And it's a responsive team. I know when we send our members and non-members, we often get phone calls back saying, you know what, OMVIC did a very good job for us, and it was seamless dealing with the APA through to OMVIC. So.
Well, I think we hear a lot about lemon laws, especially because a lot of our information comes from the US, where it's a patchwork across all the states. Some do have actual things called lemon laws. In Canada, we don't. We do have layers of consumer protection, which is what both of you represent.
And we have CAMVAP, which is another topic
Yeah.
entirely. That's our quote-unquote lemon law arbitration process.
I think this is what consumers need to know. Don't go looking for your lemon laws. Call your organizations, because that's where you're going to start getting assistance, and it's invaluable and well worth that $10 on that line.
And go to our website. If I can, put a plug in. If you're buying a car, go to our website before you go to the dealership, or before you go to look at a private seller's vehicle. There's some really, really good advice there on how to protect yourself, questions that you should ask, things that you should look for, things that you need to know, because it will make your car buying process so much simpler, and you'll have a lot more confidence going through it.
And it's very clear, very clearly written, very easy to navigate and find out what it is you're looking for, and a ton of great advice. Thanks, Terry.
My pleasure, thank you.
We'll be back after this moment. Lemonade Car Show. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. I'm with Terry O'Keefe from OMVIC and John Raymond from the APA. John, in the break, you started to tell us a fascinating story, which I want you to share with viewers.
Well, unfortunately, it's a sad story, and we get quite a few of those at the APA, but this is an example where OMVIC offers protection and could come in. So we had a consumer that called, was out shopping actively for a vehicle, saw a vehicle on one of the internet sites, went to see it, left a deposit, arranged to have it picked up, didn't ask necessarily the right questions, made the payment and agreed to buy the car, or in this case it was a pickup, and had it delivered to him because they lived in two different areas. It turned out that this vehicle in question, number one, is the person that they dealt with, and the ownership were two different individuals. So that would, you would say that could be a curbsider. Secondly, there was a lien on the vehicle because the information package that should have been provided when you bought a car wasn't. So they didn't get the used car information package. So there was a lien on this car, so that car could be repossessed. And there were a number of other issues surrounding this. And when they went to call the seller again, there was no answer on the line and
The
no
number
line
you've
working.
reached is not
Exactly.
harder.
So they ended up spending quite a bit of money on a vehicle that has a lien, that wasn't as advertised, and they didn't know who they bought it from.
Telltale signs of a curbsider.
Yeah.
Curbsiders are illegal, unlicensed dealers. They're in the business of selling cars, but they're not registered. So when you buy from them, there are no protections. But when John talked about the fact that the vehicle wasn't registered in their name, that is a common tactic they use, and they do it for a couple of reasons. They don't want to pay tax by transferring it into their name, but they also don't want it in their name because that will make it much easier for OMVIC's investigations team to find them and charge them. And we are very active when it comes to, especially curbsiders like this that are selling vehicles that have liens on them. And rollback odometers is another big problem we're seeing with curbsiders right now. Yeah, accidents, biggest source of inventory for a curbsider, salvage auctions. They go to the salvage auctions where insurance companies are selling the wrecks, buy them, fix them up. The repairs are of dubious quality most of the time.
We've seen two cars put together,
Exactly,
not even
the
the same
zipper
cars.
cars.
Yeah.
And then they sell them off to unsuspecting consumers saying, oh, it's my own car. And so if you are going to buy a vehicle privately in this province, in any province, anywhere, you are taking a risk, and you really have to know what you're doing. You have to get educated so that you can spot these illegal dealers.
And you have to invest in that private sale process by getting it inspected, retarding the process, ensuring you know what you're buying, making sure you have the used vehicle report in the province of Ontario.
Well, getting the seller's package and getting a mechanic to take a look at it before you do that. Now, will you investigate someone that's like that, a curbsider? Because they're not OMVIC people. So do you do investigations outside of your realm?
Yes, that is the one area. Normally, when we do enforcement, it is with our registrants. But the other area that we do enforcement is for people acting as dealers, and that's what a curbsider is. Okay. And when we charge them, it is acting as a dealer without registration. We also charge them for, under the Consumer Protection Act, for false misleading statements if they haven't disclosed accidents, if it's rollback odometers. We put curbsiders in prison on a regular basis.
So you got a dude that's been in jail twice now.
Yes,
He's
you got 750 days.
Yeah, he's a slow learner now.
Yeah, and so if you're going to buy a car privately, you have to be bold. One of the first things you want to say the first thing you should do is when you phone them, say, I'm calling about the car for sale. If they say which one, right,
There's a telltale sign.
There's a problem. Why are they selling more than one car? They may not be a legitimate private seller. But very near the beginning, can I see your driver's license and the ownership for the car? If they're not in that person's name, run. And they'll have an excuse. They're selling it for a friend or a family member. But why do you want to turn over thousands of dollars to somebody for a car that's not registered in their name?
Is there a plate on the car when you see it? Could have a dealer plate on it,
or a
hanging from the
mechanic's
side.
plate.
Yeah. And the other thing we say, my colleagues and I would tell people, don't fall in love with the car. It's a lot of money, and we make emotional purchases, and sometimes that clouds our judgment, and it's like, oh, but it's perfect. It's like, if this one's good, there'll be another one that's good. And when you're getting pressure put on you from somebody who, again, the ownership doesn't match names that we're seeing, that's a red flag.
Yes.
If you're meeting somewhere, let me ask you guys both this question. I've only got a minute. We say, if I'm selling something, I don't want someone coming to my house. I'm a woman, I don't want you coming to my house. So let's go meet in the mall parking lot. But that's where curbsiders are going to be working. So there's this little mushy middle ground where it's like safety versus, what's right. So
I agree. We used to tell people if they didn't want you to meet them at their house, what was the issue? But you're right. Today, things have changed, and there are safety concerns. So we actually tell people, meet at a police station. If you have those safety concerns, have them take the car to a police station and meet them there. But John, you're absolutely right. If there's a dealer plate or a mechanic's plate on that car, why? They're not a dealer. Yeah. So that's a huge sign that this is a curbsider. Or if there's no plate and you can't take it for an inspection. I've taken the insurance office, so you can't take it for an inspection. Why do you want to buy a car privately that you can't take to your mechanic and have inspected? Get a car proof. Look for the accidents, because so many of these are rebuilds. And the UVIP that you referred to, that used vehicle information package, yes, the seller by law has to provide it. They're $20 at Service Ontario. You can get the VIN for the car and buy your own. And the reason I say, even though the seller's supposed to provide it, do it, because we've seen they'll scan it into a computer, remove the lien information, and then give it to you. You think you're buying a car with no lien when in fact there is. So get the car proof report. It'll show liens. Get your own UVIP. It will show you the history of the owners of that car.
Or better yet, contact the APA, or OMVIC. Follow a process and deal with a registered retailer. They have a vested interest in delivering a quality product to you, and they are regulated.
And come see OMVIC at the Canadian International Auto Show. You'll be there. Thanks so much, Terry. Thank you, John. We'll be back after this break. More Lemonade Car Show. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. This is Ask a Mechanic, one of the favorite segments of the show. I'm joined by Chris Muir, our resident mechanic. He's a professor at Centennial College, and John Raymond remains from the APA. We're just going to go right to calls because we got lots of calls.
Perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Question, more of an observation. I got rust proofing. One of the sensor, the evaporator sensor that sits on top of the gas tank, gave me a signal that it was not working. Brought it to dealership. They said it was contaminated with the rust proofing. and they wanted to charge me $700. While everything's under guarantee, the car is less than 3 years old. I brought it to another dealership. They cleaned it, and it's been working great ever since. Observation, dealerships in between each other are inconsistent, and the blame game came along. Thank you, and hopefully this will help somebody else. Thank you. Bye.
I appreciate that. It's unlikely that rust-proofing stuff got there, Evas, isn't it?
No, it's pretty likely. They're very thorough when they spray it, and it's very possible that it might have brought in a little piece of dirt or something that kept that valve from closing fully. And when it did a pressure test on the fuel system, it let a little bit of pressure out, failed the test. You clean it out and put it back into service.
Not a regular occurrence. It occasionally happens if there's an abundance of spray fluid. We don't know what process or rust penetrant they use, but
Again, we don't even know what the condition of the vehicle was when he brought it in. It could have had dirt underneath that the oil captured and brought inside of the component.
Well, the caller makes a great point. Dealership to dealership, you can have two different stories, so
Absolutely.
keep a lid on it and go to the next one and see if you can
Person to
get a better
person.
answer. Yeah.
that was good advice and a good example of
Yeah.
what could happen.
So doing our job for us. Okay. Well, let's go to the next call.
We have a 2002 Toyota Camry. We had to have the gas tank replaced, as well as the filler pipe, and yet we still are experiencing fuel leaks, and it's already ruined our driveway. They said it was the overflow valve, but which makes no sense. You would have thought they would have replaced the overflow valves as they replaced the tank. Just wondering if you have any advice for us. Thank you.
Typically, when you replace a fuel tank, all you do is replace the fuel tank. You wouldn't start replacing components around that. As a technician, I would have looked at the age of the vehicle and started quoting out things around it, be it fuel lines, be it vent valves, fuel necks, anything that could possibly lead to a leak afterward, and caution the customer that because I'm disturbing that area, I may actually replace the leaking fuel tank and in the process break a fuel line. You may have a valve that's stuck open that hasn't seen any fuel in it to lubricate it, and however long the gas tank's been leaking. It would be something where I would prepare the customer for further concerns if I could see them coming, and something that's 2002, the concerns are coming with it for sure.
We're into a 16-year-old car.
Yeah.
So two questions then for Robert, or for me. Is this reasonable that this is still happening in light of what you just laid out? Should he go back to the same place he went, or should he be looking for new eyes on this problem? Just your gut, because I know you don't know without having more
Yeah,
information.
absolutely. It depends on whether or not he's built a relationship with that mechanic. If he trusts, which obviously in this case, it seems that he doesn't really trust where he had the work done, second set of eyes isn't going to hurt. And very likely if the technician is going to give him any type of a discount on the repair, it would be minor at best, I would guess.
It's an expensive repair. So certain questions that he didn't ask is, does he fill the tank all the way up to the top? Because then it could be an evaporative issue, and it's a tired evaporative system. So
But he could be getting into a position of the repair and the value of the vehicle are
Certainly.
starting to meet, so he
on
might.
this case, I would say yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he might be looking at
Yeah.
planning on turning it over. Okay, let's take the next call.
I recently bought a Chevy Traverse 2010 model, and it's been giving a lot of trouble with the StabiliTrak, reduced engine, lights up on the dashboard, and also traction control. And my mechanic is having a hard time diagnosing what the real issue is, which is costing a lot of money. What are your suggestions? I also recently bought the car, and I can't get out of the lease, so I'm stuck with the car.
First, known issues with this
First,
vehicle? Traverse.
There's a multitude of things. It could have an electronic throttle problem. It could have a wheel speed sensor problem. It could have a steering position sensor problem. All of these will lead to a reduced traction or a limp home mode. There's a whole bunch of different systems that will light up all those lights at the same time. Throwing parts at it, though, if it's becoming an expensive repair, that vehicle needs to leave the spot that it's at and find somebody who's going to properly diagnose it before attempting a whole bunch of repairs. Now, the diagnostic can run in that $1,000 range if it's a real hidden gem, but it should be relatively inexpensive compared to the cost
dealer?
of the vehicle.
Dealer or aftermarket real professional that has the tools and access to information. I would probably say a dealer, because although the car is 7 years old, there may be a known issue with this through General Motors, and there could be some sort of customer care.
Absolutely. And
involved.
they also have the advantage of a technical service hotline. So the technician, if they hit a stone wall, can proceed with the manufacturer and diagnose the
So
vehicle.
get to a dealer and let them put their eyes on it. We'll be back after this break with more Lemonade Car Show. We're back with more Lemonade and more of your calls. I'm with Chris Muir and John Raymond. Let's go right to the phones.
I recently took my Chevy Impala SL to a GM dealer in Peterborough to have the wires redone under my carpet, because apparently that year, 2003 leaked quite badly for no reason, and they're not going to fix it. But when I went to pick my car up, I tried to put the key in the ignition, and I couldn't get it in the ignition. So I went back, got the shop foreman out of the shop, who was the person that fixed it, put the new wires in, and he said to use bang it with my open palm, which I thought was rather curious. So I'm wondering if somebody has put a wrong key in first.
So it's not likely somebody's used the wrong key on the vehicle. It's very likely that either the ignition shift interlock was a little bit locked up inside of the column, or more likely the shifter itself, the solenoid's getting a little bit tired and won't release the key. So you push the shifter forward, it relieves pressure on the solenoid, and it lets the key release from the ignition system.
So instead of banging with his hand,
Just give it a good hard shove, really, is what the bang is doing. It's just jarring the solenoid loose.
okay, so it's probably nothing more complicated than that.
Not a whole bunch more complicated than that.
Okay. Hope that helps you, Graham. Thank you.
Hi, I'm calling from Newfoundland, and I've got a Honda Accord 2010, but it goes down oil, and I brought it back to the garage, but they don't give me much satisfaction with it, except they keep monitoring the oil, level.
So we have a 2010 gulping oil.
It depends how much oil it gulps over what period of time and what the manufacturer allows. A lot of cars are designed to burn a quantity of oil over a certain amount of time. You may notice with these extended oil change intervals that you're dropping 3/4 of a liter, so most of the way down your safe mark before that car is actually due for an oil change. If you're burning a liter every 1,000 kilometers, that's a bit of a problem. But there's lots of manufacturers out there that say that a liter over 10,000 kilometers is perfectly acceptable.
It's variable in the industry. In truth, there should probably be some sort of consumption test. But, given the age of the car, the industry average, especially for these kind of engines and these Toyotas and Hondas, is about 1 liter per 2,500 to 4,000 kilometers for a car that's 7 to 10 years old.
So this is part of us managing new expectations, because we're used to one way of doing
Yeah,
things, and
absolutely.
the engines are so much different. So it could be that this is absolutely normal. The fact they're monitoring it is a good thing.
Yeah.
So things are changing, folks, and those engines are operating differently.
Also, in
So-
truth, on your dipstick, you have a range between, you need it and you don't. So if it goes down halfway on the dipstick between your oil changes, that's perfectly normal. I wouldn't add any oil between oil changes.
Okay. I hope that helps you. Next call.
Oh, hi. My name is Raymond, and I like to know where can I go and try to put a camera in my car. I like to have a camera in my car, like a back parking camera.
Yeah.
I'll sit here and say they're garbage. I hate them.
will-
Am I allowed to say that, John?
I think so. But I'll back you up. The aftermarket alternatives that we've
saw what you
seen
did there.
are quite inexpensive. They don't last very long. Placement may not be ideal.
They're like a lot of aftermarket things. They're not intended to be there,
Yeah.
and they're bad. I had one put in.
A lot of them
vehicle.
aren't vehicle specific, or most of them aren't vehicle specific. They're retrofitted into your license plate holes, or they have to drill a hole through a panel.
They drill a few holes. There's one
yeah.
because they put them on your rearview mirror. I had one done for a column I wrote, and they drilled holes in my car, and I
There's
ripped it
ways
out.
around drilling holes. You can run them with pre-existing harnesses and everything else, provided that there's a hole close enough to where the camera's going to mount, through conduits and everything else like that. From a repair perspective, I've seen a lot, and I mean a lot of aftermarket accessories, be it remote starts, cameras. The way that the wiring is done is certainly not to the manufacturer's standard, and a lot of the time it's not to industry standard. You can talk to local stereo shops or electronic specialists. I would want an example of the work that they do and compare that to what should be there before I let them tap into any one of these circuits. Not to mention, a lot of these circuits, like the reverse signal, may be a computerized circuit, and you could actually mess up one of the modules if this thing backfeeds or spikes or anything
I think
else
what's
like that.
difficult is you can go to Canadian Tire or whatever store, and there's an array of them, and you can choose one, and the product themselves is probably okay. But once they put it in, I remember I circled around the parking lot, and I went right back in and said, take it out, because it was moving just that little bit, and I needed a gravel. It was making your car sick to look at it, because it wasn't part of it. So I've said to people, if you want a backup camera on your next car, it will come with one, because they have to, or look for one if you're buying an older car and make it. But that's an item that should really be stock on the
Yes.
car. The aftermarket's just, they're not,
It's one of those
they're not
examples.
great.
There are very few happy people
Yeah.
that end up getting those installed.
That's a diplomatic way to put it. I like that better, but
And
they're not
if,
ideal.
If you're going to be thrilled with the aftermarket, it's going to be very expensive to get it retrofitted properly.
That's true. So thank you, gentlemen. Sorry about the backup camera. That's all the time we have for the Lemonade Car Show. I'd like to thank everybody for their calls, and to my guests, and to Chris Muir, John Raymond. See you next time.